Hi there, this is Josh from Literary Gladiators, and today I'm here with a very special guest. I first came across this fine individual through her Booktube channel, Bookish Blues, and then found out that she is a published writer and has a great and solid resume. Anniken, it is a pleasure to have you on board.
It's a pleasure to be here, and it's nice to actually meet you.
Yeah, I think there's something incredible about being able to interact with people that you come across face to face, as much as one can in the remotely speaking.
Yeah.
But there is a major difference between talking in real time and interacting through messages or comments and whatnot. But anything new and exciting taking place during this hopefully better year of 2022?
I'm releasing at least one book this year, maybe two, so that's fun.
Speaking of your writing, I think we'll just, the first thing I wanted to talk about pertain to your writing. And I want to know a little bit more about your writing, if there's any genres or subgenres that you generally write in, and if there's any particular themes that are most prevalent within your writing.
Yeah, I started out as a fantasy writer back here in Norway, but as I grew older, I'm barely 30, but still, as I aged and got sick, I started seeing that I started seeing a lack of characters that reminded me of myself in different genres, and especially in like the fantasy and science fiction genre. So when I started writing in English, I decided that I wanted to write in the sci-fi genre, because it's a very interesting mirror to be disabled and then to see that in a world that's similar to our own, but also advanced in many ways, or going backwards in like a dystopian setting or a post-apocalyptic setting. So when I decided to write disabled characters, it wasn't really a question about going into the science fiction genre. That's my main focus these days.
I've noticed that with the major difference between fantasy and science fiction is that with science fiction, there's a greater opportunity to mirror it with what is actually going on in reality. But I think you're absolutely right, where not only is there a lack of representation, I think that it's becoming promising, but I think that with genres, they're very tropey, and they sometimes will rely on either a checklist or something that's going to guarantee that they're going to appeal to their market readers. But I really like that you're addressing the concern and then going that direction to incorporating and writing characters that are disabled. And I think that, and your characters are more so physically disabled, or do you do neurodivergent or mentally disabled as well?
I've been focusing on the physical, because that's been the main concern in my own life for years now. But I'm considering, of course, some of them have some mental issues that I really need to deal with. But for now, it's the physical disabilities I'm focusing on.
Okay, it's a matter of writing what you know as well. That has a lot to do with that as well. And was there anything in particular that you wanted to accomplish or plan to do with your writing?
I wanted to educate people in kind of a way that didn't seem like I'm educating them, because and find that it's easier for me to learn while I'm doing something I enjoy. So to write a genre and find people that like that genre and then kind of sneak in information to maybe make them better people or learn about things that aren't prevalent in their own lives. I also wanted to write so other people like me would see themselves in this genre and in books in general, because as you mentioned, things are changing and things are getting better, and there's a lot of focus about including diverse characters in all genres now, and for all age groups. You have LGBTQ characters, you have people of different color and people of different backgrounds, and that's great, but there's still a lack of disabled characters out there, especially in traditionally published books.
And I think I think it was very important that you said that being able to see oneself, because not only is it important to have characters that are physically or mentally disabled or challenged, but it's also important to make sure that they do not become a trope themselves, and that we need to see ourselves within those characters at hand. Tell me a little bit about your upcoming release in March.
Oh yeah, that's the book is called Type 1 Undead. I don't actually have a copy here, but you can probably like edit in the cover or something to show it off. It's the second book in my current zombie series called Disabled in the Age of Zombies. And the main character has diabetes type 1. And I got diagnosed with diabetes type 1 in 2011. And I met a lot of judgments because of it. I had one episode where I was setting insulin at a train station, and someone actually called the cops on me because they thought I was doing drugs out in the open. Yeah. And other people, when I tell them, always like, but you don't look like you've been fat. And that doesn't really have anything to do with diabetes type 1. And so it was, one thing was that I used to writing to deal with this sudden change in my life, as well as now that I've focused on trying to educate people, I think it could be an interesting book for other people like me to see themselves in a situation where everybody always kind of assumed that we're just going to die anyway.
That's a very sad situation, and I don't know about how it is in Norway, but insulin, it costs a lot more to acquire, whereas an EpiPen, which is very similar, is much more affordable.
Yeah, thankfully, insulin is something considered you need it to survive, so you get it for free here, thankfully. But I've seen horror stories from over in the US and stuff like that, and it only makes me sad and sick to my stomach to see that people that need this medication to survive aren't allowed to get it because they can't afford it. It's a broken system, to be honest.
Yeah, it's different. It's a very complex way that everything is set up, but it all comes down to the system structure.
Yeah.
But what do you have coming up as far as I know you have this one piece that you're planning to release in March. What kind of future projects do you have in mind?
I am collaborating with a friend of mine to write a book set during the apocalypse that combines fantasy elements of the world she created in her own series and my own experience with writing post-apocalyptic survival books that I hope will be released later this year. And I'm currently working on the third book in this zombie series that I hope to release around this time next year. So there's always something to work on.
Yeah, okay. And I saw that you released your first book in English back in 2018, which was the first book in the Artificial Generation series.
Yeah, that's a standalone.
Okay.
Or
Oh,
it has a short story included.
okay.
So,
but yeah, and Artificial Generation. Have you released anything in English since? And do you have any plans to release more books in multiple languages in the future?
I released a book last year called Survival Kit. That's the first book in this zombie series that focuses on someone with my own disability, myalgic encephalomyelitis, called ME for short, trying to survive the zombie apocalypse in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting experience trying to write it, because one thing is to look at your own condition objectively, but you also kind of get it slammed into your face how sick you can be and how bad it can be. Yeah, it was eye-opening to see how someone would view someone with my disability and my condition, to be sure.
I think it's very important to have it from that perspective, because I read a book about an EMP, electromagnetic pulse attack, and someone with, I think that they were diabetic. It became very difficult for them to survive, and they were just immediately offed. They died before the piece was even over. So I'm happy that you're doing something where this person, the perspective is on their fight to survive, and not just you need to they have to remove them for the greater good of the story. So I think everybody has an important role within society, and that it's a matter of preserving as much as possible.
Yeah, that's a general, unfortunately, a trope in especially science fiction, the disabled character that's just there to make drama or to die so the main character can feel sad about it, unfortunately. So hopefully things are changing now, hopefully.
Yeah, I would agree with that much. But what do you have as far as releasing other books in multiple languages? For instance, this upcoming book, is it going right to English, or are you going to start with Norwegian?
Right to English. While I like writing Norwegian, and I've been told that I have an amazing way with the language when I write it, I feel that I can express myself in a different way in English, as well as the fact that when I write in English, I write only for myself and other people like me. If I am to release something in Norwegian, I would prefer to go through a traditional publishing house, and that would be not ideal because of my situation. My first books, the Norwegian ones, were actually released through a traditional publishing house, but we had to cut ties because they demanded a lot of me that I couldn't do physically. They want me to go on book tours and stuff like that, and I can't drive anymore. Someone would have to drive me, and just a drive to the hospital can be enough to make me bedridden for a week afterwards. So trying to go on a book tour and stuff, it wasn't possible, and it still isn't. So, and also trying to live up to the deadlines to deliver books and stuff like that, edits, I don't have a control of my own schedule, so it wouldn't work.
Okay, yeah, and I think that when you're able to write for yourself and within a comfortable environment, I think that it really helps the quality of the work at hand. I think that you have to do what works best, and I think that I'll have to definitely look into your I'll have to look into your works. I mean, unfortunately, I don't understand. I only know so much as far as Norwegian is concerned. But I mean, I could learn, but I'll have to look into the works that you published in English, because I think it's definitely something I'd like to check out. But was there anything about your physical hardships that we did not bring up that you wish to discuss?
No, I don't think so. We covered the scheduling thing and how it affects the way I write, and I think that's the most important part, actually, how it changed my worldview and what's important for people. So
okay, and so let's move on to your experiences of being a booktuber. What kind of experiences did you have as being the anchor of Bookish Blues, and did you enjoy being a booktuber?
yeah, I really enjoyed it, actually. Books have been a big part of my life for a long time, and Booktube was a great escape for me for a while, and then I wanted to throw my own 2 cents into the ring, and I had a lot of fun doing it, both discovering new books and reviewing them in a different manner, and it gave me a whole new perspective on things, and I would have loved to continue doing it, but unfortunately, I think I booktube for like half a year, I think, before I had to take a break when we went to when my mom, my sister, and I went to New York for a week-long trip. And when I got back, I got really, really sick, and so I couldn't prioritize Booktube despite wanting to. I filmed a couple of videos that I never had energy to edit, and so it just kind of died away, unfortunately.
Do you still have those videos within your possession, or?
They may still be on my memory card for my camera that I still have, but I don't know. I haven't really, since then, I haven't been able to take pictures the way I wanted to, or anything really, unfortunately.
I mean, you could always release them as lost videos, but that would be entirely up to you.
Sometime in the future, when I'm like a famous author or something, I'll just throw them out there and see what happens.
Okay, but yeah, because I've always that's how I started to know you, get to know, and I really enjoyed your channel, your content, and was I enjoyed it enough to shout you out in a pay it forward tag.
Yeah.
I'll have to. I was looking at it this morning, and I'll have to catch up on the things that I didn't watch, because I know that there were things there were writing videos, there were wrap ups, there were things that I didn't get to check out. And I always tell myself I want to watch some videos that I haven't kept that caught up on, and it's life.
Life gets in the way, or wives get in the way, depending. But I'm sad that I didn't get to stay, because I met you and I met a few other booktubers as well that were really nice and welcoming into the community and stuff. And I wish I'd kept in touch with more people from that time, but life happened.
I've been releasing videos for 8 years, and I've been part of Booktube for just about that amount of time, and I've seen people come and go from the community, and it's just amazing the amount of people that I've met globally, and it is very unfortunate when people feel that they can't really contribute to the community for whatever reason. And it's sad when it's someone like when it comes to your circumstance, where you felt you needed to step aside. because of health reasons. But I think that, but it's just amazing the amount of people that I've come across, and I mean, the person that you suggested to me, Margaret Adele's been contributing. She's got a video coming up this month, and there's a video of hers that has to do with neurodivergence in genre fiction that I really want to watch, but I want to give myself the time to do so because I watch videos in a very critical way, in a very analytical. I like to be able to leave a comment. It's not really white noise kind of thing for me.
It's work, for lack of a better experience. You want to do it right, kind of.
Yeah, I think it's important networking is when it comes to watching people's videos. Like if I'm going to watch your video, I don't really just want to. It's not. I don't see it like watching a movie for leisure. To me, it's really paying attention and then being able to leave you a meaningful comment so that we can engage in a very. It just means more than just entertainment to me. It's building connections with people. But I don't know if I would say, I mean, work is more so, I think that it's more so creating connections. And I think creating connections is important to being a booktuber. I think it's also important to being a writer as well, with how you want to be able to connect with your readers.
Yeah, definitely. I wish I was better at it, to be honest. I'm not too good at keeping up. I have a Twitter that I love scrolling through, and I met some awesome people through it that I still have contact with after years of chatting. But mostly I just stalk people and snoop and see what they're doing without leaving a comment, because often they don't need it. I feel I don't just want to leave a comment for the sake of saying something, unless it's important or relevant to what they're talking about.
Yeah, I think I get exactly what you're saying as far as I'd rather leave something meaningful as opposed to nice video or nice post or great book kind of thing. I want to be able to elaborate as to why. But and on the topic of continuing with that, have you been reading anything different since stepping aside from Booktube back in March of 2016?
Oh wow, it's been that long. Yeah, it kind of, Booktube was, at least when I was in it, it was a very YA-centered community. For a lot of people, it was hard to find people that read other genres. So I picked up a lot of YA back then, and I read a lot of it. And I have to admit, it was easier to pick up more serious, that's wrong, sorry. More books meant for adults, science fiction, fantasy, that have more darker themes than maybe a lot of YA books do. Ironically, since then, I've become more and more interested in reading nonfiction. I've read a lot of nonfiction in the last couple of years about herbalism and science and history, mainly.
History.
It's been fun.
Any particular country based?
I read a few things about Asia and India. There's a lot of easy to get stuff about the US because it's a big country and a world power and all of that. So I read a bit about the witch trials and that kind of
Salem
thing.
witch trials.
Yeah, and also across the rest of the continent and also the rest of the world, and how it was influenced by everything going on in France and stuff like that. It's actually interesting to see how it started and how it evolved.
And we see different, I mean, witch trials are things that continue to go on but not necessarily viewing people as witches, but more so pointing fingers and accusing them of, you've got McCarthyism and the accusing people of being communists, and just that whole idea of pointing fingers and making accusations before giving them the fair elaboration and evaluation to determine whether or not they are guilty or of such.
Yeah. More before they open their mouths.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I think it's our tendency to jump to conclusions before asking questions and gathering facts. But you said something about science. You're into.
Yeah, I like learning in general. Actually, I've been reading a bit about. I do not remember the English word for it, but like space and Einstein's theories and stuff like that.
Physics.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
That's been really interesting.
Okay. Yeah, that is something that I would have to look into some more because I've acquired books. I mean, I too have really increased my nonfiction. And if it's within a designated series of books, then I'm really inclined. And then you said something. Oh, are you into? I know you said Asian history and U.S. history. Have you read Norwegian history? Is it very...
A bit. I've been reading up on Norwegian folklore and our mythology, like Åsatrud and stuff like that. And it's all, while I knew a lot of it from my teenage years, I've been reading up on it now, relating to the book I'm writing along with my friend, because it's going to focus on how the world ends according to Åsatrud and Ragnarok, and also include creatures from Norse folklore that you don't often see in other books, even about Norwegian mythology.
Yeah, I have a collection of Norwegian fairy tales. We went over one of them on our channel, but I think being able to incorporate that is quite fascinating as far as your folklore is concerned, and using that to be able to educate people more about the Norwegian traditions from your perspective, because it's more valuable to get your perspective, because that is your environment, as opposed to somebody that is just studying it from the exterior.
Yeah, we learn about it in school. We have like at least a week that focuses mainly on like Norwegian folklore, and then a month focusing on Åsatrud and the Viking religions and stuff like that. So seeing how people from around the world kind of just grab onto it and write about it, it's frustrating, especially when they have a lot of the details right, because you can find a lot of it on the internet, but then they twist it around and kind of forget the main point of the story or something like that, especially with retellings.
Oh yeah. Have you been to Disney World in Orlando?
No.
Okay. Because in Epcot they have the different countries across the globe. And when I went back in 2010, Norway was simply centered around the Viking traditions. And now it's pretty much centered around Frozen, the movie.
Yeah, it's funny because in the movie you have this country called Arendelle, and we actually have a place called Arndal, which is the same mainly, and it looks alike. So it's funny seeing it, but we're a lot more than just that. I do really appreciate the fact that they've included Sami, though, because Sami people is our indigenous people, and they've gotten they've been mistreated a lot by the Nordic countries, easily forgotten by the rest of the world. So I'm glad they are getting a lot of attention now and getting a chance to hold on to their own traditions and be proud of that. It makes me happy that we're evolving this much, that we can accept each other's differences and celebrate them.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing that's being incorporated. And when you start with one aspect, you can incorporate it into every aspect too, because having indigenous people that deserve better treatment is I know it's definitely prevalent in our country, where they're, historically speaking, we have indigenous groups that deserve better treatment. And I like to think optimistically and say that we are getting better. We're definitely better than we were centuries ago. Even decades. Yes, that's true. But it's a matter of us as individuals being able to just be kinder people to everybody and understand people, being empathetic, even igniting a sense of curiosity to want to learn more.
Yeah, definitely. It's actually a great thing because it allows us to learn about other people and other cultures and grow as individuals, and, as you say, also as a society. And I think that's really great.
Yeah, I love learning about that's one of the best parts of Booktube, is learning more about people, and regardless of where they come from and what their backgrounds are. Even speaking with you today, learning more about Norway. I mean, there are things that are very similar in certain ways, and among my mix of various ancestries, I actually do have a little bit of Norwegian in me. It's smaller than the others, but my great grandfather came from Norway. So, but he's lived in America for over 100 years, or he moved over here over 100 years ago. But otherwise, I mean, yeah, I don't know how many. Have you ever watched New Scandinavian Cooking?
No.
No? Okay.
I don't think so.
That's a show on public broadcasting about it's a cooking show but they also incorporate countries' culture, and I think the contributors are from Scandinavian countries. I've watched it when I've been able, but not to the point that I would like to watch more episodes. And I recently got this big book on Nordic cooking.
Have you tried Smalahove?
Smalahove?
Yeah, it's sheep's head, basically.
Sheep's head. No, I haven't. I'll have to look I'll see if they have a recipe in that large cookbook for large sheep's head. But it's I mean, it covers Norway, it covers Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Iceland, maybe Greenland too. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'll look into it.
Mm.
But we've been talking about your reading, and we were talking about. Did you want to talk a little bit about your the animals? I know you were a huge you had owned a lot of rats during your tenure during your Booktube tenure, and you also now have a dog.
Yeah, I started up with a few rats, and then it grew and it grew, and at most I had 13 rats at the same time.
13, 1-3, or 30, 3-0?
Yeah, 13, 1-3.
Okay.
That was a lot. So unfortunately, because of my health issues that came up, I could no longer clean their cage in a way that didn't leave me bedridden for a long time. So I had to give up on those, although they are amazing pets, and I'd recommend them for anyone that can have them and give them the life they deserve.
Yeah, if I was ever looking into getting a rodent, the rat would be the number one choice, because there's that ability to train it, and you're able to have person to pet connection, whereas there are a lot of pets of that caliber that are really, all you really do is feed them and watch them. They're pretty much just either entertainment or something to look after. To me, if you want to get a pet, it should be something that you're going to be able to have a hands-on experience with.
Yeah,
I've gathered that about the rat.
Yeah, they're like miniature dogs that unfortunately don't live that long. I still grieve for them at times, which maybe sound weird, but there's so much personality in this teeny tiny body, and they leave this huge mark on your heart if you treat them right. And they're just amazing pets and animals, really.
Yeah, you said you had you wouldn't happen to know off the top of your head how many you've had total?
Total, that would be around 30, so 30, I think, in 2 years.
And
any particular? I took in a lot of lost cases, rats that other people didn't want, or people that had rats live alone for a while, and tried to give them a home. Unfortunately, it didn't always work out.
So most of them were adopted, as opposed to you getting them at a very young age?
Yeah, I was involved in a few breeding attempts toward the end of it, and had a few that came out of that. And seeing them following them from start to finish is amazing, but it's also amazing to be able to give a home to an animal that really needs it.
How many of them did you get to name?
20 out of 30,
okay.
I think.
Yeah, okay. Did you have any particular themes, or did you just
whatever I was in the mood for at the time?
Okay, yeah, I would probably do the same thing. But and then and what kind of rats were they?
All rats are basically the same. They just have different coloration, like us humans. So I did have rats that span from the regular, like hooded rats and brown rat, to more exotic ones like blue Siamese rats and stuff like that, it's a whole world of breeding and genetics in there that's pretty amazing to get into if you're interested in that kind of thing.
And I've noticed you have a lot of larger rat, or you have some that are larger and then some that can be smaller.
Yeah, that's just genetics mainly.
Okay.
I think my largest rat was almost to 1.5 kilos, which is big for a rat.
And that would be the equivalent to the size of a chinchilla, or would be
a bit smaller than a chinchilla, but pretty close. And they're really long when they're that big. They're kind of like a pear shape.
Okay, and then the smallest would be something a little bit larger than a mouse.
Yeah, the smallest one I had, I think, was like 600 milligrams or grams. I mean, and that's like around half a kilo. So they can be pretty small.
Okay, that is quite an experience that you've had. I read a book about rat training back in 2020, and something I might want to revisit. But at this point, I have cats, so it would be tough to. And one cat pretty much he's pretty much become the we're pretty much roommates because we share. So I don't think he would like the if I started bringing in rats at this time. But
especially if he couldn't eat them, it's like you're bringing me a meal and I'm not allowed to eat it. Why?
I give him kibble, so he should be pretty happy. But
cats aren't ever happy.
No, yeah, cats. You have no idea. They're very enigmatic in their mood. And right now you have a dog named Izzy Wolfclaw. That's a mix breed.
Yeah, she's like a street dog mix. At least we know about 2 of the breeds she has that are a Rottweiler and American Bulldog. But those were from her grandfather, and her grandmother that he breeded with was a street dog from Spain, I think. So we have no idea what genetics she brought to the table, and we're not entirely sure who her father is. So,
and she plays a heavy role in your life and in your writing.
Not so much in my writing, other than trying to distract me every time I sit down in the chair to work.
Okay.
But she's very important to me in my life. She gives me a reason to get out of bed on bad days, and she's not a service dog, but she acts like it in the way that she alerts me when my blood sugar is high or low, or she alerts me when I'm getting an adrenaline spike and things like that. She's my dog, she's my heart, she's my kid. It's just, yeah, she's important.
It's amazing that dogs can do that. I've read I may have read something of that nature in Pause and Effect: The Healing Power of Dogs, which was an amazing book that I came across. But I think it's just amazing how they're able to detect issues that you may have as far as your diabetes and whatnot.
Especially when you don't train them to it, they just learn that this is a problem by watching you and seeing how you act. And
that's even more remarkable, because usually they have to be trained in order to provide the service that they engage.
Yeah, they're extremely smart animals. So loving. So
that's what they said about when they were saying how smart a rat is. They said that a smart rat is like a smart dog, but the smartest rat is not as smart as the smartest dog.
I'm not sure I would agree, but I guess people know more about that than I do. I just know that they're both smart animals and they can learn pretty much the same.
They do say that rats are very similar to humans in their way of their emotions and their way of interacting. And they do have hands that can manipulate too. So.
Rats are empathic animals. They did some research into it, and I saw that if they put a rat into a cage and tempted it with treats for a while, it would go after that. But then if they put a treat in a cage and the rat that was stuck in the cage and then let the same rat into it, the rat would focus on freeing the rat that was stuck before eating the food. And that's a sign of empathy and a sign that they are more than just instinct driven and the nuisance that people seem to think they are. And they live in family groups. And my first rat was one of two brothers, and we had them for almost 2.5 years. They got very old by rat standards. And then the brother had a stroke and we had to put him down. And despite bringing him home, you have to bring the dead rat home so the pack can say goodbye. And despite doing this, my rat, he stopped eating, he stopped drinking, he got depressed and died within a week. After his brother had died, he'd had no health issues up until that point. And then his brother died, and despite being in a pack, despite getting to say goodbye, he just withered away.
That is very sad, the way that, because there are people that will, or even among humans, they will deteriorate at the loss of a loved one. They can't, especially with spouses. But on that, would you happen to know what was the longest living rat you had?
That was him, 2.5 years.
2.5? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I think I've heard that 3 is usually the longest that they can live.
Yeah. You're lucky if your rat reaches 2 years old. They usually die sometime between 1 and 2 years. The one I had that lived the shortest got barely 6 months old before he had a heart attack and died.
Yeah, it would be. So what would be the, I guess 1 year would be their entrance into seniorhood? Or...
Yeah.
Okay. But have you owned any other animals besides rats and dogs?
We also had, I was the proud mom of 2 bearded dragons for a while, and that was a lot of fun.
Oh, okay.
Bearded dragons are for reptiles the same as rats are for rodents. They are social lizards that you should bring out of the cage and interact with at least an hour every day.
Okay.
So we had a brother and sister. Unfortunately, the brother died from stomach complications rather quickly, so we were left with the sister, and I would bring her out every day and have her on my shoulder when I wrote. And she had a tendency of climbing up my hair and lying with her head up there and her claws digging into my hair, and needed help to get her out because her spines and everything got tangled in my hair.
Oh, that's quite...
But she was... she had a personality, and her brother had a personality, and they were also pretty amazing pets to have, and I'd love to have a bearded dragon again. But it's the same problem with them as with rats. For me, I can't clean the cages.
Yeah, it's it could be that's pretty could be a challenging task where because I think with those you would think that it's a simple cage, but it's much better for the animal when it's something that's larger and they have the ability to do more, to move around. I know that somebody was telling me about rat cages and how it should be more, there should be more beds. Some of them they have 3 floors to them.
I had a two-story cage that was 2 meters tall and had like 2 main stories, and they had multiple shelves in each floor and hammocks and things to climb on and multiple levels. So, and it's the same with bearded dragons. They should have at least 3 different levels to lie on inside their cage. So
because if you had something too small and too simple, it really, I've gathered that it plays a detriment to their intelligence.
Yeah.
So,
and worst case they could become depressed and not want to interact. At least in rats, that depression in a rat can kill them. So.
I think that can apply to quite a few animals and quite a few species. Was there anything else that you wanted to bring up? And if there was anything you wanted our viewers to know about you and your upcoming endeavors?
I think we covered it all. To talk about the disability and future books and how I hope the future changes within all genre books and allowing more diverse characters for other peoples in my situation to be allowed to read books and not feel excluded and actually feel seen and involved. I think that's the most important part, and I wish more people would consider it when they write books, as long as they do it respectfully.
Yes, absolutely. I think that it should be. I think that they should be treating the people the way that just a golden rule thing, where treating them the way you would want to be treated if it was talking about you and your position. I mean, you could have. Everybody is complex and everybody has flaws, but I think that they deserve the process of being, or they deserve being viewed as human beings and not as villains.
Yeah, and
burdens.
not as, or even not as a box to be checked when you write the book. I had someone, actually, a reader, accuse me of that when he read the first chapter of Survival Kits, where you have the main character in a wheelchair and she's a lesbian and her wife is dark-skinned, a woman of color. And someone accused me of just trying to check boxes to reach as many readers at the same time. And I remember at first I was hurt that someone would think that, but then I realized that my world looks like this. It has people of color in it and different heritages, and it has queer people in it, and it has disabled people in it. So that is my world, but I realized that was a strange awakening to how that is not the world of everybody else, and how judgmental people can be towards worlds they don't know or understand.
It's absolutely definitely a way to look at it, and I think that there are people that do practice the checkbox theory, but you have to look into it a little bit more, where if it is your world and your story, then that's the direction that you as a writer should take.
And as you said, some people use it to check boxes, and I understand that, because a lot of people want to include other people because they also want to change the world and make it a better place. And this is their way of doing it. But I think if you're going to do that, if you're going to write the main character with a disability that isn't your own, you have to do the work. And as you say, treat them as human beings first.
Yes.
But don't forget that the disability is part of their identity,
Yes.
at least for many of us. So,
learn more about what kind of things that they, the challenges that they go through, and the hardships, be it the physical aspects or the mental aspects. I think people need to have that, be able to know the feeling and be able to explain it. If it doesn't pertain to, if it's something that they themselves have not experienced, and it helps if you get in touch with somebody that, but on the contrary, everybody has a different experience too. That's the way of humanity, because not everybody with a physical handicap, they may have some of these challenges, but not others. Same thing with neurodivergence. They may have certain quirks or certain challenges that they go through, but are stronger or not as strong in other areas. So
yeah,
that's something.
When I looked for beta readers for Survival Kit, I asked in a group I'm in and got 7 people with myalgic encephalomyelitis to read it for me and give their feedback. And all of them said the same thing, that all of them had some of the symptoms, but not all of them, or they had different symptoms or different strengths to them. And as they said, the most important thing was to just acknowledge that I don't speak for everyone with that disability, and I never thought I did, but write that this is not a textbook, and make it clear that this is a work of fiction, including some symptoms and experiences with this condition. Because I think, unfortunately, a lot of people believe everything they read, which I now realize is ironic for me to say, considering I am trying to educate people through fiction. But just think when you read something and do your own research, I think, is the most important part.
The steps that you're taking now are very important and very meaningful for the world of literature. But when it comes to leaving links down below, I would say I'd leave a link down below to your writing website, your Goodreads. I might just leave your Booktube channel too, because people would want to check it out.
You can also leave to my Twitter and Instagram account. I talk a lot about the life as a disabled person on those platforms, if they are interested in learning more, talking about it, or just not feel alone.
Okay, yeah, I'll leave a good hearty list so that people can get to know you even more and connect with you through the online community. But I want to thank you for taking part in this interview. I really had a great time having you on board.
It was great. As I said, it's great to actually meet you face to face. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm really happy that we did this. So thank you for having me.
The pleasure is mine. And I want to encourage our viewers to be sure to join us again for some more great content on our channel. And for now, keep reading.